everybody. For our lesson today, we are going to do a review on what place value to start when we're looking at a division problem. So I have a practice problem here and another one later that we're going to go over. That way we can make sure that you are ready to go. So the first problem is Miss Smith wants to find 3,616 divided by 32. Now, this format that you see is what's going to be on our test tomorrow. So that's why we're practicing this format so that you can see what it looks like. So you will have two parts. Part A says, in what place value should she write the first digit of the quotient? Well, this should say quotient. That's a typo on my end. So it is quotient. So, and then it's multiple choice. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. And then we're going to drag the numbers of the boxes to decide where to write the first digit. So there are two parts, but we're going to do one part at a time. So let's look at our first part first. I want you to set up your math notebook. I'm setting mine up with my workspace and my solve space. Set yours up now and pause the video while I set mine up here. Now that I have my notebook set up with workspace and solve space, and you do too, we are going to work on solving this together. So, our solve space, what we're solving for is 3,616 divided by 32. So, we cannot be lazy. We need to show our work to make sure that we are starting in the right place. So, our first step is to look and see how the largest place value for our quotient. So our quotient is the 3,616, the total amount we have. So I look at my quotient, and this is my ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands place. So I know the largest place value for my quotient is the thousands place. So that's what I'm going to start with for my place value. So I start and do 32 times 1,000, which gives me 32,000. Now I need to look and see, can I subtract 32,000 from my 3,616? No, I know that's way too big. I cannot do that. So I need to go down a place value. So I then go down a place value. So from thousands, it goes to hundreds. So I'm going to do 32 times 100. 32 times 100 is 3,200. And I got that by doing the 32 times 1 and then annexing the 2 extra zeros. So, can I subtract 3,200 from 3,616? Oh yeah, I can. So if I look at this, if I go back to my problem, I know that this answer means that I would start in my hundreds place, right? I would put an X above my 3,000, and I would put a 1 here over my hundreds. So I know I start in my hundreds place. Now the question does not ask me to solve the problem. The question does not ask me to solve the problem and find my answer. The question is asking me, in what place value should she write the first digit of the quotient? Which we know, when we look at this, thousands was too big. So, we started in the hundreds place. So, the answer that I will click on the test is hundreds. I'm going to go ahead and circle that here. Now I'm going to move on to part B, which says, drag numbers to the boxes to explain how to decide where to write the first digit of the quotient. Okay, so this is just a written explanation of what we did on our workspace and our solve space of why we selected our place value. So it says numbers may be used once, more than once, or not at all. So I'm not going to use I might not use all 4 of these numbers. I might only use 1. I might only use 2. I might use a number more than once. Okay? So, when I look, I see that this says 32 times blank equals 3,200. So, what is that? Let's check our workspace to see if we can find our answer. If I look at my workspace, I see 32 times 100 equals 3,200. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to drag a 100. And 32 times blank equals 32,000. Well, I have that on my workspace too. 32 times 1,000 equals 32,000. So I'm going to go and drag a 1,000. So, since 3,616, which is our dividend, is between the 3,200 and 32,000, the quotient is between two values. So this tells us because it's between the 3,200, which we did by multiplying by 100, but times 32, and it's between 32,000, which we did by doing 32 times 1,000, that the quotient is between 100 and 1,000, which we can prove by looking at this. We started in our hundreds place. That is between 100 and 1,000. So that is how you would answer a question like this. We're going to do another review, so make sure you flip to your next space and create a workspace and a solve space. So we are now going to do our second problem. It is the same format, but it is different numbers so that we can get more practice. So now I am going to find 377 divided by 29. So looking at this, my dividend is 377. It's the total amount that I want to break up with my divisor, which is 29. So I'm putting the 377 into different parts, 29 parts. But I need to look for what place value should I write the first digit of the quotient. So I'm going to go set up my notebook for my workspace and my solve space. If you need to pause the video to do that, pause it now, and then we'll go ahead and solve together. So we are now going to solve. For this problem, we are looking at 377 divided by 29. So I'm going to approach this the same way. To see which place value I start with, I need to find the highest place value of my dividend to look at first. So this is my ones, my tens, and my hundreds. So the highest place value for the dividend is our hundreds. So that's where we're going to check first. Okay? Remember, this is just checking. It's not where we start with our problem, but it's how we check. So we do 29 times 100. 29 times 1 equals 29. And then annex the two extra zeros. We get 2,900. I cannot subtract 2,900 from 377. This number's way too big, so I need to go down a place value. I am now going to multiply my 29 by 10, since the next lowest place value under 100 is 10. So I'm going to do 29 times 10. And again, 29 times 1 equals 29. And then annex extra 0. Okay, so I can do 377 minus 290. So that tells me I put an X above the hundreds because it did not work when I did 29 times 100. But I would put a 1 above the tens. So this shows me that I start my place value for solving in the tens place. Okay, I start in the tens place. So for my answer, in what place value should she write the first digit of the quotient? It is the tens place. Now we're going to take a look at part B, which is dragging the numbers to the boxes to explain how to decide where to write the first digit of the quotient. We already did that. We did that in our workspace, which is why it's important you write in your notebook. So Numbers may be used once, more than once, or not at all. So 29 times blank equals 290. Well, I know my 29 times 10 equals 290. So I'm going to drag my 10. 29 times what gives me 2,900? Well, we did that already too. 29 times 100 gives me 2,900. So then, since 377, which is our dividend, is between the 290 and the 2,900, the quotient is between the numbers, 10 and 100. So that tells us a little bit about how to solve these problems and gives us more information about how we can do it. So I hope that you took notes and are ready to go, because this is a question you'll see on your test.